Here tonight because Dani Lemberger and Tammy Lemberger, his wife, are here visiting Los Angeles, and they're from the Dror Center in Haifa, Israel. They have 8 staff. It's really impressive. They were a mission in the church. They left the church, but the mission is still going, which I think is wonderful. Anyway, I just wanted to introduce Dani, and he's going to speak to you. Thank you very much for coming.
But for me, the lawsuit was actually ending cycle on our saga, the relationship, the fight with the Church of Scientology. And like I was saying earlier to some people, until 2012, I could blame Miscavige for everything that was going wrong. He's the top man, and if my mission is not expanding, it's Miscavige's fault, right? But I can no longer blame Miscavige after I spoke not nice of him and I left him and we're no longer friends and I don't ask him what to do anymore. So now the Dror Center is our responsibility. Myself, Tammy, our friends, and every business, as we know, survives on getting clients in. If you have no clients, you have a fantastic product, but nobody's buying it, no use. You're going to run out of business. So a business has to have clients, and for many years, I realized that we in Scientology do not have marketing tools. Occasionally somebody would walk in and say, hey, I want to hear more about this subject. Now, what do I do when somebody wants to know what we are doing at Dror Center? I can talk to the guy for hours, but many people say, I have a friend, he wants to know what I'm doing. Or people come to me, I need to find out more about this. Is there a book I can read? A brochure, a pamphlet, anything in writing, or a book I can read that explains what you guys are doing. And we have a problem, don't we? Like, what book do we give somebody who wants to find out more about the subject? Or anyone here, you want to tell about Scientology to a friend of yours, or get him to know more about it. What do you give him?
DMSMH.
You give him DMSMH, there you go. And what is typical, I mean, I was asked the same question a few times to finally get this answer. Thank you, Cindy. DMSMH. So typically when you give a person DMSMH, what happens?
You never see them again.
They fall asleep.
They fall asleep, you never see them again. Good answers. Any other similar answers? I want these answers. No, I'm kidding.
They go to the org. I mean, that used to be the old way.
Do they go to the org? I mean, they read the book, they understand it, they make it through it. I mean, my experience is that most people cannot read the book Dianetics, right? I mean, in the past year, in the past 12 months, in the USA, you have a fantastic population here, 350 million people, maybe more. How many Dianetics books were purchased by new people who've never done Scientology?
23.
23 books?
I was a body router and I sold like 35 a week for 2 years.
Years ago.
In 80.
In 80. And what happened with these people? They read the book, they came in.
They didn't really read the book, but they came in.
Oh, they did come in. Good.
It's better than,
Because you spoke to them.
yeah.
Okay.
And they thought I was cute.
Like,
Younger.
You're still cute. You're still cute.
so very few people, I think, very few people in the US buy the book. I mean, do you find it in bookstores? Do you walk into Barnes & Noble, into bookstores? Do you find the book on a shelf? Or Amazon? Do people order the book from Amazon? I think very few. Yes, Ned?
If you go on Amazon and if you look at the bestsellers in Scientology, the top 20 book, you can do this, any of you can. The top 20 books on Scientology, you'll find that Dianetics usually is about 15, and all the ones above that are
Negative.
Jenna Miscavige and Ron Miscavige. And
Right.
2 out of the top 20 are official Dianetics or Scientology
Right.
publications. That had a different message besides that, but it's low on the Dianetics bestseller list.
Exactly. So very few people buy the Dianetics book these days, and people, the very few people who buy the book, very few read it, very few people make it to the end, very, very few walk into the org, any org, doesn't matter, they come to us, they go to Trey, to Randy, coming and demanding Scientology services after reading the book. Like, it happens very rarely. And it did happen to me at Dror a few times that people did come in and say to me, Danny, I read the Dianetics book, and it's great, it's fantastic, wow, unbelievable. I want to go clear like it says in the book. And then what do you tell them?
We don't do it like that anymore.
Thank you. Can you continue this talk, please? He's doing it much better than me. So you tell them, we don't do it like this anymore. Because the tech has evolved and developed so much after 1950. And Ron Hubbard was so busy developing and discovering more tech that he never revised the book. I mean, he should have written Dianetics version 2 in 1953 and Dianetics version 3 in 1956, right? Because he discovered so much more data that is not in the book. So most of what is in the book, a lot of what is in the book, became inapplicable or obsolete, right? He discovered there's a Satan behind all of this. The whole track, right? You don't go clear on running prenatals and attempted abortions, right? You go clear on your implants from, I don't know, billions of years ago. And then the E-meter came about 1955, 1956. You know, E-meters, TRs, ARC, KRC, ethics, confessionals, the bridge, the purif. All of these things came much later, so the book became progressively more and more inapplicable, actually. Okay, 1978, the release of Neurodynetics, R3RA, so that totally changes it. You look for the postulate. I mean, tech has evolved so much, but there is no book that describes or presents the tech as we apply it today. Okay, the people who audit studied from core specs, and the core specs consist of HCOBs, and the HCOBs are in the tech volumes, but you cannot give it to a friend of yours. Oh, look at this bulletin here, and look at that bulletin there, right? A person out on the street, he's not going to do this, he cannot do this. So we needed something. I realized, and people came to me and asked me, there must be a book, there must be something, or we need to have something that we can use. Finally, well, exactly a year ago, I think it was November 2016, I realized that if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it for me, right? For whom the bells toll. So I realized I had to do it, and this is what I did. And I said to myself, well, we know that Dianetics is true, is correct, all the data in it is valid, but there's just many more advancements that are not in the book. But how does the Dianetics book start? What is the basic first premise in the Dianetics book? That's an exam question, you got to answer. You know the answer.
Started an adventure.
Yeah, and what is the basic? Survive. Got it. Good, good. So the first thing is survive. The common denominator of everything we do is survive, right? Mm-hmm. I hope you're surviving well here right now. And then what does the book end with? How to achieve the set of clear. Mm-hmm. But the book takes you from survive, and what is non-survival is the reactive mind, and to survive better, you have to go clear, get rid of the reactive mind. So that's how it starts, that's how it ends pretty much. So this book too begins with survive, but then LRH researched survival much more. And he found out much more data about survival, and the book ends with clear. Okay? So allow me, do I have your attention for another few minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I wrote up a little legend, a little story I made up. Gray said it was cute. Okay, thank you, Grace. Grace already had a peek preview of the book. Thank you.
It's good. It's good.
Good, thank you. So I made up a little story in the beginning where all this comes from. And then chapter 1 is man survives, and I think LRH gave us the concept of quality of survival. You know, survival is a scale. It's not black and white, live or die. And we have the scale of emotions. Then we have the table of skills, the Hubbard chart of human evaluation, but I simplified the table of skills. We have the drives of survival. LRH, for his reasons, decided to coin new terminology, to make up his own nomenclature so as to distinguish or separate his philosophy from other fields, right? And I thought what I should do is go back to simple English so people do not run into MUs and they can read it more easily and look up the words in a dictionary, and it relates to everybody, day to day, the way people talk and speak nowadays. So when you look at the definition of the word dynamic in the Tech Dictionary, it says drives towards survival. So we call it the drives of survival, our drives in action. The next section is the good, the bad, and the ugly, where we discuss transgressions, not overts, because overts in English means something else, transgressions and withholds, and a whole section on responsibility and how you improve your life, you improve your survival by taking responsibility. And we even have, I'm sorry to say, writing up your transgressions and withholds. Even that is here. Chapter number 2, innate abilities. Innate, like what you were born with. What are our abilities, natural abilities of a human being? And ability to play a game. The admin scale, like how you achieve your goals. States of existence. The triangle of understanding, ARC. Triangle of power, KRC. All here in the book. And then you run into chapter number 3, decisions, how we make decisions. Man's best friend. Who's man's best friend?
My dog.
His dog, of course, but here I altered it. This is altruist. So the mind, of course, like you make decisions with your mind. We have the aware mind, because when you look up analytical mind, he says the mind that is aware. So we just simplified the aware mind. The reactive mind, I discuss here the ability to perceive, to experience comfortably disagreements with life and charge, change. I don't use restimulation, I use reactivation, because in the dictionary there is no such word, restimulation. I didn't find the word. I found reactivation, and I discuss, I don't call it postulates, that's a tough word. I call it fixed ideas. Okay, because when you have, I don't call them engrams, I call them traumas. So when you suffer a trauma, you make a decision. And that becomes a fixed idea. So we have to handle that too. So that's chapter number 3. What we also have is a lot of artwork in the book. Then we go into the spirit. I don't call it Thetan because in the Tech Dictionary he says Thetan, the spirit. So why don't I just call it the spirit? And I discuss the spirit. I give a lot of LRH data about the spirit, but I wanted to broaden it into a more general discussion of what is life and what is the source of life. And it seems like we have 2 major views. One is evolutionary view, right? Charles Darwin, evolution. And the other view is the creationist view. Somebody created this. So this chapter, the first section of it is called the prime mover unmoved. Are you familiar with it? Prime mover unmoved. Something that Aristoteles in Greece came up with this, 2,500 years ago, that if something is moving, there has to be somebody static behind moving it. right? And the world we live in is in constant motion. So there has to be somebody before who's not moving, but creating the motion, and that's the prime mover unmoved. He didn't call it God. He didn't know what it was, but he said there has to be something that is creating all this motion. I then go into a discussion here, and I quote two professors in Israel who were debating this. One is the student of Jacques Monod. Anybody heard of Jacques Monod? Jacques Monod, very famous French scholar, researcher, medicine, genetics. And Jacques Monod won the Nobel Prize for his discoveries in the field of genetics. And in 1970, he published the book, Chance and Necessity. And he proposes the idea that life all began billions or trillions of years ago in a sea of ammonia. That's what we all are, sea of ammonia, and somehow molecules of ammonia combined, and the first molecules of protein were created somehow, and this further evolved, and here we are now. So that was Jacques Monod's idea, and the book was, a bestseller and very important book, and most people believe this, right? You live only once, you're a meat body, it's all in the brain, and we were apes once, and clamshells before, and proteins in the sea of ammonia a few billions of years ago. So these people are very serious about it. Now, there's another scholar, an Israeli guy, very well known in Israel. He didn't win the Nobel Prize, but he had like 5 different doctorates in physics, chemistry, mathematics, philosophy, a great guy. Leibowitz, you can find a lot of data about him if you Google the name in English. Leibowitz, and he wrote articles, and this other guy, the student of Jacques Monod, they exchanged articles in an Israeli science magazine. And Leibowitz is saying that the sciences that you're talking about, physics, chemistry, biology, the sciences can explain the how something is happening. Like if a bus goes from one city to another, the bus is running, the science can explain how the bus is running. Combustion and gasoline and the wheels and the transmission. So sciences can explain how the bus is running. The sciences do not approach the field of why. Why is the bus going? Why is this old lady sitting on a bus? She wants to visit her son. So why we do things, our emotions, our desires, our goals, that is not even approached by the sciences. Okay? So I give all this. This is a little philosophical section that I wrote just to raise the issue. And I say to the reader at the end of this section, you, the reader, and myself, who wrote this, are not going to decide who of these giants, Jacques Monod or Leibowitz, who is right, who is wrong. They're way above us. These people are stellar geniuses. We're not going to adjudicate who's right or who's wrong. But if you read the book, and if you do the drills and the processes in the book, you may find out for yourself the answers. So please bear with me, do this book, and you will find out. Then we have the next section, dwindling spiral of the spirit, right? That was the spirit. And of course, what would be the next section then? Rehabilitating the spirit. So you were like this, but now you're looking a bit like that. And so you come and we handle you, and you go from being this thing, miserable with a lot of charge. You read the book, you do some auditing, and now you're bright and shiny again. Okay, rehabilitated spirit. Whoa, what is happening here? Okay, good. So that's the spirit, and then we talk about the initial point of aberration is non-confront. Okay, so chapter number 5 is confront, and we have 2 drills here. Confronting with your eyes shut. I think they call it OTTR 0. Right. But we call it drill 1, being here. And then drill 2 is confronting, a whole chapter on confronting and life and confront. Then we go finally into what we know as auditing. But what is the definition of an auditor?
One who listens.
Good. So one who listens, so we call him the listener, because he's one who listens. And then auditing becomes listening. So we have chapter 6, which explains all the fundamentals of listening, auditing, and what is the role of the auditor, the listener. And chapter 7, I call it off to work, is section 1, describing it, mastering your mind, because you're not in control of your mind. You have all these engrams, traumas, all these things in your reactive mind, which constantly get reactivated. So we want to put you back in control of your mind. And then we teach them recall processes, exactly the same as self-analysis. What we know is self-analysis, we call them recall processes. So we teach the people, page 131. Let me find this. Okay. So we teach them how to do recall processes, how to run this, exactly the same as in self-analysis. And then appendix number 1 is the procedure and lists for running this. Okay? And then we even show them how to do a session worksheets, and session report form. So they have all this data and they can run recall processes to a big win and to where a person can control his mind. Finally, we get into chapter number 8, which you can see clearing, clearer, clear. Okay, how we bring someone to the state of clear. Okay, so we discuss what is a clear. Okay, and I mentioned clear many times earlier, but now a full section describing what is a clear. We also have a bridge, what we call the route to spiritual freedom. This is going to be laid out in color and more clear, but you buy the book, you do these steps, and then you can proceed at one of the centers to the state of clear.
Which explain the grades.
Okay, yeah, we have the grades, we have everything here. Now, our intention, of course, my intention, of course, is not to sell a book. How much money can I make selling a book? I mean, not much. No, I'm kidding. We don't want to sell books because people buy a book and they read it, they toss it away, and it's lying around somewhere. It's of no use to anyone. So what we did, we went further and we prepared the check sheet. And the check sheet guides you through the book. Okay, so a person can buy a book, read it at home, do the drills with a friend of his, fine. You can come into one of our centers and do the book, do the course. So you study the course, you do exercises, drills on every chapter, and of course at the end, you do all this listening, auditing, co-audit with another student in the course room. And when you've finished doing this course, you get licensed as an instructor of the route to spiritual freedom. Okay, you got a nice certificate, you can hang on your wall, and now you're an instructor. What this means is that we certify you to do this professionally. When I talk in the book about the listener, I say you should charge money for your services. You do professional work, you give service, you care for people, you have to get exchange in, you should charge money for it. What we promise the people is that when you do the book and you're certified as an instructor, we will promote you on our website. So we already have a website in Israel. It's almost ready to go. Website of the Route to Spiritual Freedom. It has all the data. It has, you can order the book. We're preparing more books that you can order. We have success stories. We have a lot of information there. But we have a whole section on the website where each instructor who's certified has a page. And this will be promoted on Google, on Facebook, so people will find our website and they will see who is the instructor closest to their home. And they can come and get auditing, courses, training. So the idea is to sort of hit the reset button on LRH's philosophy. I don't mention in the book the word Dianetics or Scientology, I think for obvious reasons. I do, of course, mention Hubbard. He's the source. He's the originator of all this. But we want to start the movement again. And we want to make it possible for young people. Thank you, Ian and Olga, for being here. You're the young ones here. We want to make it possible for people to study the subject and to get going and applying it, to make a profession of it, and to succeed. I tried to totally stick with LRH, not to invent anything, not to change anything. So I insist, I say, this is 100% standard tech. The tech does not belong to any organization, it's ours. And it's my responsibility. So when I take LRH's technology and I study it, and then I relay it or deliver it to others, it's my responsibility to get results on the person. Okay? And this, when we really do not have any marketing activity effectively going on. Like people who do Scientology, auditors, like Trey and Randy and Karen, you get people because it's word of mouth. Right? It's all word of mouth. One guy who's happy tells the other guy, and you're flooded with work. But still, 3 auditors in LA with a population of 10 million people, it's going to take a long, long time to get this joint cleared. So we need a lot more people. We need a lot more people knowing about LRH's technology, and we need to have tools, materials that we can easily market and give to people and distribute. So that's the idea. And we're in an age where people don't want to read too much. They want to see it on their screen, on their website, on the internet. So this is all internet based. I have professionals doing that for me, a website, and all the people who are active will be in the website. People can communicate, exchange ideas.
So we're really happy, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, hit 3 cheers for Dani and his mission.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Bye.
And if you want the